Good morning. We're here today with Amanda Thrush from Seniors Helping Seniors. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about Seniors Helping Seniors.
Well, we basically provide non-medical in-home care to seniors looking to stay in their own homes. We do that by providing them with companionship, light housekeeping. We do some cooking, cleaning, laundry, getting them to the doctor, the grocery store. And we do that by matching them up with people their own age. So all the people who work for us and all of our clients are all over the age of 50.
So that's something unique to Seniors Helping Seniors, thus the name.
Yes, correct. Hence the name. That is where we got it from. And it is something different. The services we provide are pretty similar to all of the other home care agencies, but we do it a little bit different by giving them somebody their own age that they can relate to and enjoy getting that help from them a little bit more.
There's got to be a reason for that.
Yeah, I think everybody is just more comfortable with their own age group. You know, they can relate to each other. They know what it's like to maybe be a widow, you know, maybe have, you know, lost their friends, their spouses, have gone through the wars or the depression. And it's just somebody who kind of understands what that's like versus putting, you know, a 20-year-old in with somebody who's 80. They can probably run circles around them, but they don't really understand what it's like to be 80 years old. So, whereas somebody who's 60 or 70 is a little bit more on that page.
So in doing that, when you're finding these people who are going to provide the in-home care, what kind of people are you generally looking for?
Our big thing we're looking for is just somebody who's kind, caring, and compassionate. Those are our big things we look for. Not somebody who's had a ton of experience in the field. Certainly that's helpful, but you know, we figure if they've made it to 60 or 70 years old, they probably know how to cook a meal. They probably know how to do the laundry. They've lived many years. So we want somebody who is kind, doing this because they want to, not because they have to. And we find that that makes all the difference in the world. They're not there watching the clock, you know, oh, I gotta go to my next client. They really go above and beyond. They just want to be helpful. So.
And maybe with having seniors who are helping, it's a little bit different than maybe someone younger who might not have that same outlook.
Very much so, yeah. A lot of times, you know, this is their only job. A lot of them work 6 hours a week or something in that ballpark, and they're happy with that. They're just looking for something to do to get out of the house, keep them busy, and make them feel good about, you know, doing something. So they're very dedicated to the people they work for, and they do a wonderful job, and it's very unlikely that they won't show up for work. I mean, they don't call in sick, they don't call in for weather, because they know those people are counting on them, and it may be the only person they see all week long. So they're going to do everything they can to be there.
Right. And I was wondering if maybe you could tell us a time when one of your providers went above and beyond the call of duty for one of your clients.
Hard to pick just one, as
Right.
we have many instances. I guess I can think of one in particular where one of our gentleman client who's in a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair, had mentioned he really wanted to go to a Tigers game at some point in his life, which may not be a much more long life that he has left. And my guy that works for him showed up one day on a Friday afternoon and said, "Come on, get your coat." And he said, "Where are we going?" He said, "We're going to Detroit. We're going to go watch the Tigers game." And he didn't have the vehicle to drive this guy because he would need his motorized scooter. So he went, contacted somebody he knew of a friend, and borrowed a vehicle that they could put the scooter on the back so that they could get there. He had bought the tickets and everything, and just picked them up, and there they went for the afternoon. And the guy was so grateful, so happy, and still talks about how that just made more than his day, probably his year or or even more.
So just an example of how the relationships between the caregivers and the clients develop.
Yeah, and that's really our goal is, you know, one of our taglines, it's like getting a little help from a friend. We want it to be that way. We want them to get close. We want them to form a relationship because it gets them more comfortable with getting the help and allows them to really get the help that they need, which in a lot of cases people kind of have that wall up and don't let people help them the way they need to be helped. So we break that wall down a little bit.
That's great. Amanda from Seniors Helping Seniors, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.